What's
Like,
poppin', y'all? We back with another episode of the Squid Game Aftermath podcast. I am your host, DeAndre, aka Player 288, and today I have a very, very special guest in the building. The pleasure, privilege, and honor to have one of the sweetest, spunkiest, smartest, wisest, coolest, dopest marble players in the universe, Miss Jackie, aka Player 393, was popping.
okay, I love the intro. Thank you so much. Nothing. I'm just here. I am just, kind of coming down on the Squid Game wave. Everything is out there, said and done, and now I'm just kind of like adapting back to life. What about you? What's been going on with you?
Wrapping up, coming down as well. It's nice to kind of, be able to breathe again. You get to text the people who you didn't get to talk to in the last few weeks because you were just so bombarded with things. And I was like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to like put you on layaway, but it was just like everything happened.
Yeah, honestly, that like I didn't want to look at my messages and my comments for a long time there because there was just so much conflicting feedback. So just kind of like putting myself first and just like putting that aside for a minute.
Yeah, no, definitely. And, this is the last day, well, essentially the last day of the podcast as well. So very excited to have you on here. As you know,
Yay.
the final, what's it called? Why am I messing this up? The last number in the musical. What is it called? The finale.
The closing day, I don't know.
You know what? I'm gonna get robbed because some of these people know I do shows like that too. Look, the final number. That's all we're gonna do. The closing number. The closing number.
Nice.
And so definitely, happy to have you here and whatnot. And it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. So tell me, we gonna get right into it, Jackie. Tell me, why did you decide to apply for Squid Game, the challenge?
Ooh, um, I have loved reality competition shows since I was a kid. I was that girl watching um, MTV's The Challenge, being like, put me in, coach. I want to be in there. Like, I want to play those games. Survivor, Big Brother, America's Next Top Model, like any like competitive TV shows, I was so into. And there came a time in my life where I was like, I want to do that so bad. And then as I got older, I realized a little bit that I had never seen someone like me in those shows before. So I kind of closed the book on that dream for a little bit. And then later in life, I started educating myself a bit more about my own background and the culture and community that I belong to, which is the deaf community. And I started learning American Sign Language, and I kind of just built up my confidence. It was literally like a complete shift. Like I was a shy, quiet, meek person, and then I learned about myself and I really came into myself, and I thought, why not me? So I just started applying for anything and everything, and I saw Squid Game, and it stuck. Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely, that's awesome, and yeah, I can attest. I've watched a lot of shows too growing up, and I never seen a deaf person on any of the shows,
Mm.
and
I think
until
my first exposure to a deaf contestant on a reality show was Niall DeMarco. He was the first ever deaf signing model on America's Next Top Model. And if spoiler, he actually won that season.
wow,
So, seeing a little bit of representation here and there like made me encourage me even more. It's like, okay, we got a little bit. Let's keep going. Let's see just how many people we can get to represent all the different kinds of people in the deaf community.
yeah, definitely, and we have Matt on Big Brother this year too, so
Yes, I
you saw,
watched
you
that
saw,
season. Yeah. You saw it?
yeah, I saw it. So I watch Big Brother a lot, so definitely, and I was like, oh, okay, we got some people coming this year, okay.
Yeah, yeah. We've been calling it like, the surgence of deaf talent, the wave of sign language. Like we're seeing so much representation lately, and I love it. I live for it because as a kid, there was none of it. You really had to go on a deep dive on the internet and like find people that you could connect with.
Definitely. So I love to see it. Love to see the change that needs to be made and that should be made. So huge props to you being able to get the platform and show be an inspiration to other people, which what it's all about at the end of the day. So okay, so Jackie does that. She applies for the show. You get accepted, and you find out you're on the show. And so you're packing your bags and whatnot, and it's the night before you head out to London. What's going through your head?
It's not real before I get on the plane. Like I've been told you're going to be on there, start preparing this and that, but I'm not really processing. I can't say that word. Processing that I'm going to be on it and it's as big as it is until I'm on the plane. Um, and that's when it starts to become real, when I'm like capturing the moments, like on the plane, filming myself, filming my experience. And then we get to the hotel and it's really real. Like there are hundreds of other players I'm surrounded by, and I'm not gonna lie, I was really intimidated because everyone looking around, everyone was like so beautiful and like stacked in some way or another. Like there was like big buff guys, and there was like, I think the first person I sat next to was a woman who was a military vet, and she was just like, I'm here to compete. And I was like, oh my God, I'm just here,
She's like, look, just spare me, all right? You gonna be a good, you know who I am. Just let me slide on you, okay, real quick. All right, good. So yeah, it was a lot of definitely, and I think a big thing in the hotel, which actually has not ever been spoken about, at least on the podcast, was we all had our masks on, and you really couldn't see people's faces. You just could see kind of them, their physique, and their kind of like their just body, I guess you could say. And so that was a little it left like a lot of distance in between, being able to actually see who somebody is rather than just a random like Sims character that has a mask on. So
It did. And, I kept my mask on 100% of the time. Like, I was not trying to risk getting sick and then not being able to play the game. But there were a few people that didn't have their masks on. And the people that did have their masks on, they would talk to me and I would just kind of be like, uh-huh, uh-huh. Because honestly, I can't hear you with a mask on. I can't read your lips. So that was like later in the game, one of the things that the showrunners had to do. Like if they needed to talk to me, they would come in, they would take a step back, they would remove their mask. So that way I could like hear them and lip read them.
yeah.
But I think that kind of helped before going into the game because I did want to keep that distance. I am a rule follower. I knew we weren't supposed to be talking to each other, but they casted a lot of big personalities and they wanted to talk and they wanted to be heard. And so I just was kind of like, sure, I'm pretending I'm hearing you.
Yeah. No, I didn't even think about that. It could be tough for you, especially with all these masks and stuff. And if somebody's like, you're whispering to the person in lunch line waiting to get food, just talking a little bit, but you can't really say nothing back. You're like, and they might think you're being rude or something. So it's like, it's not me. It's just, it's just
Yeah,
the situation.
it's just my life, honestly. And that does happen. That was one of the things I was worried about. Like, I'm not gonna ask you to repeat yourself more than 2 times because I know that when I do that, people tend to get angry and frustrated. I know that if someone asks me a question and I'm like, because I do that, they might I think I'm rude. And I had to like worry about that when I didn't have my hearing aids, which was in the bathroom when I was showering or like at night and in the mornings when they had to be charging. So I was a little bit worried about that, but for the most part, I think everyone who knew me got it, if they made an effort to know me.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Well, yeah, we soon get out of the hotel, and it is time to head to the first game. And so we're on the bus headed to the first game. Tell me what's going through your head.
Honestly, I'm so like being hard of hearing, deaf, whatever you want to label me. I like to call myself deaf. Played a huge part in my whole experience. So going into this, it was so early, right? It was like 6 a.m. or something like that. And I was thinking, okay, if we're going to play red light, green light, it's going to be a long day, like a long day of filming. And I need to be able to use my hearing aids. during the most important parts. And my hearing aids only have a certain amount of charge time. So they get maybe about like 16, 17 hours of listening time before they die. So on the bus, I'm telling my neighbor, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna take off my hearing aids and turn them off because I don't know how long this day is gonna be. And I don't need them right now. And luckily she was like an older lady and she was like down to sleep. And so that's what I did. I turned them off. The bus ride was about 2 hours. So I saved 2 hours of battery time. And later I find out that I needed it because it was such a long day. And by the time the day was over, my hearing aids were already starting to die. They were like, beep, 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 you've been awake for so long, go the fuck to bed.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I wouldn't even have thought of that either. Wow, it's just like you have to deal with a whole nother battle with that little thing
Yeah,
because we were up for what 18 hours that day, if not more. So
yeah, yeah.
definitely was a lot. So
Mhm.
yeah, well, we soon get there, get mic'd up and whatnot, and we enter the red light, green light arena for the first time. So when you enter there for the first time, tell me what's going through your head.
I am shocked at the production value, like, and I'm shocked at the size. Like, I practice red light, green light with my family on our driveway, and I was like, oh my God, this is like six of my driveways. This is the size of a football field. I don't know how the hell this is going to work out because this is much bigger than I thought it was going to be. And then also just being surrounded by 455 other people, it was kind of scary. Like before we were about to play, I was like, this could easily turn into like a stampede type of thing. Like I am sandwiched in between so many people. I'm like 5 feet tall. Like it was very intimidating, but also I was prepared. Like I knew this was going to be the first game, and I had been practicing with my sister, and I had been doing yoga for like months beforehand, trying to get my balance right, like just trying to be strength. Like I was already telling myself, I am a tree. I am a tree. Nothing can knock me down. So I felt prepared.
Okay, she felt prepared and whatnot. All right, we're gonna see if the practice at home was working good. And so, we get in there, they give us a little practice run, and then it's time for the real thing. And so you already explained your strategy, so you take off. Well, seemingly. And we get into the first pose. We're there for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. What's going through your head?
They had, explained the rules beforehand, and they said it was 10-15 minute hold, and I was like, no, I didn't hear that right. I asked someone next to me, I was like, how long did they say we have to hold it? And they were like 10 to 15 minutes. And I was like, no, he didn't hear that right. And like I asked them again, like, how long are we supposed to hold? They said 10 to 15 minutes. And I'm looking around like, is any does anyone really comprehend this? Because I'm trying to comprehend it, and I know that's a long time to stay still and like not move your head or whatever. So I'm like, okay, all right, it must be manageable, right? Because they tested these games. The first hold, I kind of squatted like this a little bit and put my weight on my back knee. That was not good. That was not good. I started shaking, and tons of things came through my mind like, can I actually do this? Um, and then eventually you had to get to a point of like, all right, I'm gonna have to readjust my strategy. I'm gonna have to stand differently. And eventually I stood with like my hips above my feet, just like this, not like that or whatever, anything like that. And that helped. But mostly it was a mental game. You had to really tell yourself, everyone had to tell themselves something pretty creative and dark to make it through that challenge. And I started to tell myself, okay, if you move a muscle, you're gonna die. Like literally. But that didn't really work, to be honest. So I started to tell myself that if I moved a muscle, then my family would die. And that worked like a charm. Worked like a charm. I was good the whole time. I was like, I'm not moving an inch.
Oh my gosh! Wow, that's the first time I heard somebody say that.
It worked. That's how I did it.
Wow, she had to go to the extreme length. Like, look, which one it is? Is it you or your family? Red pill, blue pill? She's like, neither. I'm not my family. Oh my gosh, that is hilarious. Wow. Well, I
What
commend
did
you for
you have
that.
to tell yourself? I want to know how you made it.
I just said, look, don't get out first. And then when the first person finally got out, I was like, all right, I shouldn't get out, but I'm not. If I do get out, then I'm not first. But then I was very tired. So, and I was one of the people on the ground. I fell asleep during one of the rounds. I was so dang tired, and I didn't know when they were blowing the whistle. So I was just like, look, because you could hear the doll's head turn. That was and I'm a light
Yeah.
sleeper. So as long as I heard it turn back, I'm like, all right, it's time to wake up. It's time to go. And I
Wow.
told the people around me, like, hey, I'm about to close my eyes. Can you like whisper or make a noise if when it's about to go? And they agreed to. And I was singing songs in my head. I was counting. I was mostly singing songs and counting. That was my biggest thing. So I mean, I told myself, look, whatever you do, just stay still. You got it. Fight through the pain. You was getting the worst spots and whatnot. And I've been through some some hardships when it comes like physically, with sports and whatnot. But nothing like that. But yeah, just mentally just tap out and find a different place. That was my biggest thing. And I kind of just thought about the embarrassment of going home at red light, green light. That was the biggest thing. I could not go home and be out in
That was
public.
your motivator. I
Yeah,
can't
I
go
was like,
home with my head held down.
exactly. So,
Yeah, I
so
get it.
yeah, you make inching through the end of the game and whatnot, and you finally, you get to the finish line and you successfully take care of business. Jackie, congratulations. You make it through red light, green light with the strategy of your family intact. So, congratulations. We get up out of there, and it's time to enter the dorms for the first time. So, when you first walk into the dorms, what are you thinking?
It's amazing. It is incredible. I am like just so grateful to make it past the first round and grateful to be able to like sleep in a bed here tonight and just like get to experience this. I know like we went back to the hotel that night after red light, green light, and you could tell the energy between the people who had lost that game and the people who had won that game. It was intense, and people were really sad to not have made it through the first game. Um, so I just felt so grateful to be in there and to like take part in at least being in the dorms for at least one more night, you know?
Definitely, definitely. And so when you get in there and you see all these people, are you thinking of talking to a lot of people, making a small group, and then who do you get close with?
Hell no. Going in there, I was like, okay, my strategy, I'm not going to get close to anyone. I'm not going to make friends with anyone. I'm going to just kind of ride out this beginning until I can make bigger moves, until I get further in the game. Because if you watch any competition reality show, the loudest person, whether they like you or they don't like you, has a target on their back from the beginning. So my strategy was just kind of like stay away from the louder people, kind of keep to myself and not make like too strong of connections. But I quickly learned that that was not going to happen. I made connections right off the bat with people after red light, green light, on the bus to the dorm. You really needed that to survive. And it was so good to talk to people about what we had just been through because we had all survived this insane game. So I was still trying to keep people at an arm's length, but I had made connections naturally from the beginning that carried out through the entire length of my time there.
Okay, okay. So who are these people? Who are these numbers?
Numbers is hard to remember, but I made a group of friends right from the beginning. I had met Phil after red light, green light on a bus, um, going back to the hotel. I had met Alex on a bus to the dorm. And then they kind of introduced me to Rachel and Tabitha, and then there was Scott, who was my number neighbor that I met in the tent. And I don't remember their numbers because honestly, we were just friends. Like we were just good friends, good pals, hanging out. We weren't really like plotting and like building alliances. Like we were just good friends, and so we didn't really kind of remember that part. Um, but we banded together. We were eating every meal together. We were playing games together. We were observing and talking about things together. And somehow we started calling ourselves the Breakfast Club. I think it was Scott who thought of that, um, because we were just a bunch of outcasts. We were a bunch of, there's Scott, the older dude from San Diego. There's Phil, the gender fluid dude from New Jersey. There's me, the deaf girl from San Antonio. There's Alex, who is this Asian girl from Michigan who is like so loud and proud about her moral beliefs, which we needed because we were in a very like moral dilemma type of world. And then there's Rachel, who is a teacher. I think she's mixed and she is from Florida. And we all just kind of had the most, like, we agreed on a lot of things together, like socially and morally. And we just kind of like came back to each other always.
Okay, nice. Now I got a nice little crew going on here. Okay, if you don't watch I watch the real Breakfast Club, like the Breakfast Club, the interview thing. So that's what comes to my head. So it's funny. And I've seen the movie Breakfast Club or the TV show.
Yeah, that's where it came from, because the movie is just a bunch of people that wouldn't normally like befriend each other in the real world, and that was kind of us. Like we had come from all different places with all different backgrounds, and we just found like good vibes with each other.
That's awesome. I love that. I love that. Well, yeah. Soon we find out that 200 is eliminated. So how you feeling when you see this go down?
I was not like good friends with 200. I think he might have came up to me and introduced himself, but I think he was doing that with a lot of people. So it wasn't very surprising to me when he got eliminated, because I knew of him. And at this point, if you knew of anyone, you had a target on your back. So I wasn't sure who did it, but I knew, I was like, okay, I'm playing the right kind of game, because there's going to be these types of eliminations and social things thrown into the mix. So I just need to keep my head down and stay close to the people that I'm vibing with.
Gotcha. Okay, she got the plan and she's seen what's going on. So we keep on moving, and soon we move into the second game, and we walk into the white room for the first time, and we see these 4 lines. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking I'm going to choose line 3, because my number is all 3s, and I come from a family of 3. It's me and my mom and my sister, and I'm just trying to trust my gut through the whole thing, and my gut's telling me to pick 3, so I go into line 3. Yeah.
Okay, she gets into line 3. That's what we doing right now. And so we get in there and soon find out that the first line goes in there, they have to make a decision, and they can't make a decision, and they are gone. Boom. Second line gets in there, they can't make a decision. Boom, they're gone. Third line gets in there, and they finally come to a somewhat decision, and you end up getting the star. So not too bad. So you get the star, and it's time eventually to go inside the Dalgona playground and get started. So 1, how you feeling about the star? And 2, how do you manage your way through the star?
Hey, the star, not bad. Like it is what it is. It's not the umbrella. So I wish I would have gotten maybe the circle, or the triangle. But as it turns out, the triangle was more difficult than the star. I think more people went home in triangle than they did in star, because who knows, maybe they thought it was going to be easier than it was, and then more things started breaking. I don't know, but I was fine to have the star. And coincidentally, like a lot of people who were in my alliance, my friend group, were in the same line as me. So it was me, it was Rachel, it was Phil, it was Sam, and it was Brad, and Brad kind of like taught us how to beat that round. Like I think out of all the games, that was the only game I didn't practice. I didn't make the cookies. I didn't buy them off the internet like a lot of people did. I just kind of looked up on the internet, like, how do I beat that game? And, there were so many different methods. But Brad had practice and he kind of showed us the ropes. He was like, okay, this is what you need to do. You need to spit in your tin. You need to use the spit as a paintbrush. And then you need to let it sit. And then you need to get carving really, really nice and neat. And I was like, okay, I'll do that. And they explained the rules beforehand. And they said, I think they said, if your cookie has like a hairline fracture, then you're good. Just keep going. I missed that. Like, I completely missed that. And I'm doing my cookie, and the point of the star is like this, right? But I crack it, so it kind of goes like this. And I'm like, oh, damn, I'm out, because I'm a perfectionist. And to my demise, I'm a perfectionist. But, like, I was, the guard comes up to me. He looks at my cookie. My ink pack doesn't go off. And I'm like, okay. And then Phil is right next to me, and he leans over and he's like, oh, no, you're good. Keep going. And I was like, oh, really? Okay. Like, I thought I was going home. Like, it was crazy. It was like 30 seconds. I'm already envisioning myself on a plane back home. But Bill tells me I'm good, and I just keep going. I keep carving, and I look up. There's like 10 seconds left on the clock. I'm like, it's now or never. And I'm like really getting in there. And I literally make it right in the nick of time. Like 1 second to spare. I got my cookie out. The people come out, they're taking a look, they're like, that's good, it's a pass. And I just start bawling. I am crying. I thought I was gonna be in my bed by tomorrow, but really I'm going back to the dorm with my friends. I still have a shot at this money. Hell yeah. And I'm just like crying tears of joy. I walk out, everyone's like, yay, go Jackie. And I'm like, thank you. Yeah.
Okay. She makes it through. Congratulations, Jackie. 393 is making her way through the game. Now, one thing I did hear, I do know is that the triangle, the star has rounded. It's not pointy, or it's like a little more rounded than it's not completely round, but it's a little more rounded than the triangle, which is completely straight. So that kind of left a little room for like, okay, like I ain't got to get it exact. So definitely that might be a reason why more people got out on the triangle, because they were probably more strict on like, okay, there can't be no rounds or else you didn't do it right. So
true. Yeah. A triangle is a triangle. It's
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but anywho, you make it through the game, and soon we get back in the dorm and we see this telephone. Are you thinking about grabbing this telephone?
Hell no. I first of all, I can't even use the telephone. Like, the way I use the telephone is I Bluetooth stream from my iPhone to my hearing aids. I can't use like an old ass like dial up phone. Like, as much as I try, I'm still gonna be like, what are you saying? Like, I don't get it. So that wasn't even an option for me. But even if I was like hearing and could use a phone like that, I'm not gonna even touch it. Like, this is Squid Game. There is like, if there's a treat, it's gonna come with a trick. So I'm not trying to volunteer for anything. I'm not trying to make myself known at all, and I'm not trying to get involved in these things that aren't like a real game. Like, I want to play the game, so I'm gonna try and play as many games as I can. And that ain't one of them.
That is not one of them. That was not on the TV show, Coach. What y'all doing?
Yep.
But some people might not have watched the show, so they decided to pick up the phone, and that's 198. And he actually does it twice, and he is shipped out of here like an Amazon Prime package. Boosh, he's gone. And so we soon leave and enter the white room once again, and now there are 8 lines. Now, what are you thinking?
The white room. Damn, I hate that room. I think we all do.
Yes.
I'm still trying to, like, my group of friends, we all kind of agreed, like, loosely agree, like, let's not go in each other's lines. Let's not be on each other's team, because then, maybe we all go home, or maybe if we split up, then we have more of a chance of our group members making it to the end. And most of us are on with that kind of game plan, but Phil is not. Phil is like, let's stick together. Family is family. Like, let's be together to the end. And like, I don't know, we kind of just like go off and do our own thing, while Phil's like, wait, what about family? Or like, pick a line, damn it. But somehow I end up in line 6, another kind of like 3 adjacent number. And I'm in the same team with Rachel, and then Phil and Scott and Alex, other group members in our alliance, end up on the same team too. And I'm thinking, you know, you see, if you're observant in the dorm, you see that people are starting to kind of build teams like for tug of war. We all thought it was going to be tug of war. In my mind, I'm thinking I don't think it would be tug of war because I feel like a lot of people could get hurt in that game.
Yeah.
But the commotion of everybody trying to like build teams and like prepare for tug of war is getting to me, and I'm starting to really think, okay, maybe it is going to be tug of war. But then lo and behold, we go into the freaking game and it's a giant set of warships. I'm like, warships? Really? This is so random. Like, I did not play this game as a child, so I feel so ill prepared. But then I quickly learned that it's a game of chance. You really have little control over what happens to you. So I'm like, okay, if I go out, then at least I didn't lose because I played badly. You know, like it's just, you kind of just have to go with the flow with that game.
Yeah, definitely. You had to go with the flow. And so, correct me if I'm wrong. You guys are going against B's team, correct?
No. So me and Rachel were on B's team.
You were on B's team. Okay, cool. Got it.
B was our captain, and I worship 2 Bs, and that is Queen Bee and the Queen Beyonce. Like, those 2 women are some of the most fiercest, like, strongest people I know of, and they're both named B, and I'm like, yeah, I couldn't have picked a better line to be in because B was so calm, so cool, so collected, and she knew what she was doing. As much as a game that you could play with warships, she made some really great strategic decisions, and I was just in my boat like, yay, like, yes, I picked a good team. Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. She came through in the clutch, and your team was dominating. Now, what they didn't really show is you guys did lose a boat. So you lost one boat,
A 2-person boat, yes.
two boat, but fortunately, none of your allies were on this boat. Yeah, none of your allies were on this boat, and your team ultimately wins the game in dominating fashion, and y'all celebrate, rejoice, and like, look, we should do this sticking together thing. Maybe Phil was right. Maybe we shouldn't go all over the place. So like, all right, Phil, you honorary captain from our little group from now on with the decision making of splitting up Scooby Doo style. We're not gonna do that. We're gonna stick together. So congratulations, you make it through the 3rd game. This thing is moving quite along nicely. Everything's going exactly as planned. And so we soon get back into the dorm, and the the person above tells us that there will be 2 tests for the next game. And the first test is this vote out, and everyone must get in a line and vote on this machine. And ultimately, 3 players must be voted out. So, how are you feeling about this?
I am feeling good. I feel like my name's not going to be on the block. Like, I'm doing my best to not piss anyone off, like, even subtly, because I know I've seen before in shows, like competition shows, like when it comes down to vote for somebody, it can get to the nitty gritty. Like if you gave someone a dirty look, or if you made a mess and didn't clean up after yourself, like those types of things can get you eliminated. So I'm feeling pretty good, but I'm also trying to decide who I'm going to vote for. I know I'm not going to put up a new person because that immediately puts a target on your back. And I'm trying, like, the numbers of people who are going to be voted are kind of floating around the dorm before we get to vote. So I know that Dr. V is probably going to be up there. I don't know him too well at this point. So I decide, okay, if he's up there, then I'm going to give him my vote, because that's honestly, it's just a good way to hide. Like it's you at this point, it's still way too early to make yourself known in the game. There's still way too many people. So I get up there and I cast my vote, and unfortunately Dr. V went home along with Lorenzo and Andy.
Yep.
And I was pretty sad to see Lorenzo go, to be honest. I know he made a really silly decision of like going up there to Leanne and saying what he said. And just for your information, I didn't hear what he said. Like I'm like over to Rachel, like what just happened? What did he say? And Rachel's like, oh, she realized the information, and I'm like, oh, that was so stupid. Like that was just but Lorenzo is Lorenzo. Like I met him in the tents and we like bonded a little bit about our shoes in red light, green light, how they were like killing us. And I got him in that moment. I was like, I get you. You are not going to be everybody's cup of tea, but I get it and I like it.
Well, yeah, definitely sad to see them three exit. Well, not sad, but just unfortunate to see them three exit the building. But your alliance is still intact, so it's bye, but we'll be all right without you. So then we move on to the next test, and now they bring 6 boxes up on the stage, and they need 5 people to volunteer. And ultimately, 183 Jesse, 229 Felicia, 375 Joel, 787 Kyle, and 130 Jacobin all volunteer, and then they tell them the rules. Like you have a chance to eliminate someone, self-elimination, or advantage. Are you worried about any of these people voting you out?
Honestly, I wasn't until Jesse. He got to eliminate 2 people, and they didn't put this in there, but he stepped off the stage and he walked around the entire arena, and he stepped in front of certain people and he gave them a once over, and like he like read their numbers. You could tell on his lips like he like read their numbers. And this man did that to me, and I'm like, oh my god, am I about to go home right now? Because there's some tea out there with Dash and Jesse, and I was friends with Dash, and Dash was like talking to me, and I had conversations with Dash, and Jesse was like on our kind of like to vote for potentially list from the last elimination. Of course his number wasn't put up there, so nobody voted for him, but you have to be so careful in a game like this. You have to be careful who you're talking to, who you're seen talking to. So I think just by association, me with Dash, Jesse was trying to like, remind me like, hey, I've got the power right now. It could be you going home. So I was standing next to Rachel. She's in my alliance. And I'm like, I think I'm going home right now. Like, damn. And like, that's why you see me in the background. We're hugging each other because we're like, oh my God, like this might be it. But then, of course, he sends home Dash, and he sends home one of Dash's friends, who I can't remember their number right now.
Jesse sends home Dash, and he sends home 26 because he doesn't know her. And I believe he only had 2 people he voted out. Yeah, he only had 2 people. Yeah.
So that was scary, but it was a reminder of like, again, attaching yourself to people who have giant personalities and who make themselves known in the dorm can be a dangerous thing.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely nerve-wracking in that sense. But hey, you and all your alliance members make it through all the voting, and y'all good to go. Nobody's radar, so they definitely stayed out the drama and whatnot, and you're clean to go. And so it's time finally. Ultimately, people do this chore. You guys get a reward, and they bring out these picnic baskets and blankets. Everyone is super excited. You get some real food for once. So tell me what you're feeling when you see these picnic baskets come out.
These picnic baskets come out, and they come on the intercom, and they're like, everyone pick a partner, you're about to get a treat. Me and Rachel and Phil are all standing next to each other, and me and Rachel immediately know what's up. There are no treats in this game, and if there is a treat, it's gonna come with a trick. So we just walk away, and Phil is left in the dust. Phil is like, wait, why don't we be partners? But we're like, hell no, we're not gonna send each other home. Like that's not something we're gonna do. Absolutely not. Like, so I end up in front of this man who I don't know all that well, but I know his name. We were on the same team for warships, and we're friendly enough, and we just kind of end up in front of each other, and we're like, "Hey, you want to be partners?" And then that's it. We're standing in line to get our picnic blanket and our picnic basket, and that is the start of marbles.
That is the start of marbles, and then this is kind of where Jackie gets introduced to the public. This is her, her number to come out and show what's popping.
Yep.
So before we get into marbles, well, I know you had, so we know they didn't show this. You had a lot of time that we're waiting to get into marbles, and so you also have time there to kind of discuss what you're doing. Did you guys have any conversations there?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We get our basket, and I immediately like empty out the basket. I rip up the bottom, and I'm like, "There's the marbles." Like, confirmed. We all knew this was coming. I talk about it with my partner, and we know that we're gonna have to play a game, and one of us is gonna go home. And we're being cordial with each other. We're being friendly, and I start asking him about his background, and I can tell you so many things about him. I can tell you where he's from, where he lives right now. I can tell you what he does for a living. I can tell you that he doesn't have kids. I can tell you who his partner is and how long they've been together. I can tell you why he wants to win the money. And I'm waiting for him to engage with me, and that doesn't really happen. I kind of have to give that out on my own, and it's not really being reciprocated. I tell him, yeah, I'm a small business owner. I've been a full time illustrator and artist for the last 3 years. I make art about deaf pride because I'm deaf, and I'm here to do this. I want to represent my community, and I want to be the person I didn't get to see on TV when I was younger. And he's just kind of like, yeah, just kind of, you can tell when like a person is interested in you and wants to have an engaging conversation with you, and that really wasn't it. So I continue to ask him questions about himself because that's the kind of person I am. Like, I know if people feel more comfortable talking about themselves, then I'm just gonna continue to make them feel comfortable and let them do that. And then if you want to ask me a question about myself, then I'm gonna engage. But that really wasn't the case. So half of the time that we were spent there, I asked him questions about himself. It kind of fizzled out, and then we were kind of quiet for the rest of our picnic. And I got the vibe that this wasn't, my friend. Like, I had friends in the game so far, and like I would call them a friend. I would call them someone I leaned on, someone that I shared intimate details about my life with, and they shared intimate details about their life with. And, they, even people who didn't know me, like my friends were picking up signs because I was teaching them signs for when I didn't have my hearing aids, and they would sign good night, good morning, like just like reading signs. Like, that was a thing in the dorms. And even people who didn't know me, but they had a connection with the deaf community somehow, they would come up to me and they would introduce themselves. Lexi, who was a stunt woman, knew like conversational sign language. We signed a bit. There was another player named Ayana. She had taken some classes in high school, and she had conversational sign language skills. So we chatted. Chad, the stripper, he has a brother who uses sign language, and not American Sign Language, a different language, but he was showing interest, and he was like, teach me some ASL. I want to know ASL. And then Elliot from New Zealand, he knew some New Zealand Sign Language, which is very similar to American Sign Language. So we chatted, and it went on like this. If people started hearing about you in the dorm, like everyone kind of knew a little bit about everyone at that point. And we would engage, we'd have friendly conversation like people do. But that just wasn't the case with my marbles partner. So I kind of felt prepared going into marbles that this might not be a friendly game, whatever the game would be.
Yeah, no, Definitely sounds some interesting vibes going in there as well. And maybe I should have picked my friend because at least we could have been kicking it and whatnot for a little bit. But hey, the decision's made at this point, and we got to keep it moving. So we get in there ultimately, and then obviously the rules. You're getting in there. You got to decide which game you're gonna play. Now, I'll what I'll do real quick is I'll read through everything that they showed on screen, and then you could give what really happens about what's going down. So what they show is they show all the people in there, then they show you 393 versus 382. It's on and popping. You guys talking about why you want to win. And then you say, we find out that you're deaf, and we find out that you want to represent as well. And we hear that. And then we find out 382 is deaf too. Then 382 says to you, are you playing the sympathy card because he is surprised and you have never taught him anything? Then you say, Tim, we ain't friends. What are you talking about? Then he insists that you save this piece for this moment to use at your advantage, and that's not right. I see right through you. Then he also says he noticed this is the first time that you displayed using sign language towards him, and he feels tricked. And then you say, my friend, I feel bad for you. Why are you doing this? Why are you acting like this right now? What is happening? And then he says he doesn't feel bad for you because he tells you you are going home. So tell us what really was, as an edited version, but tell us what was really popping when y'all got in there and everything got going.
There is so much to this game. There's so much that happened beforehand in the White Room that I'm not going to touch on because it is like a little bit traumatic for me. And I'm still trying to process it. But we go into this game and the vibes are not good. We have to settle on a game to play. And he had told me beforehand in the White Room that he wanted to play a shooting game. I'm like, okay, I kind of wanted to play like an actual marbles game, but as long as it's not a game of chance. I don't want to go home because of a game of chance. So I'm like, okay, fine, we can play a shooting game. But we get in there and I'm thinking all day in the White Room, I'm like, okay, he picked the game, which means he has the upper hand. And I don't want him to think that I'm just like this meek little girl that's just going to go along with whatever he says. So when we're deciding on the game, like actually in the arena, the marbles arena, I decide to throw in an additional like complex part of the game. I'm like, instead of just shooting and seeing whoever gets the most points, how about we shoot, and if you get a marble in, then I get one of your marbles, and if I get a marble in, you get a marble. It's basically like just a little added layer of complexity to the game, just to like, not because I wanted to make the game more complex, but because I wanted to feel like I had part in choosing the game.
So what exactly was the rules to this game?
It was just a shooting game. If I got a marble in, then I get one of his marbles. If he got a marble in, then he gets one of my marbles. Okay. And the person with the most marbles at the end gets to win. Got it. So it's pretty simple, right? But we have 5 minutes to discuss about this game. I'm watching the clock. He spends 4 minutes talking about a shooting game. And I spend the last minute saying, okay, but I want to add on this extra detail, which is the I get your marble, you get my marble type of thing. And I can see it all over his face. He is fuming. Like, he is pissed that I am not who he thought I was. I think he thought I was this, 5'2" deaf girl that wasn't gonna stand up for herself. And he's pissed. He is pissed about it. He is pissed that he's not gonna walk away winning this game easily, So they ask us, and that's from my perspective. Honestly, I'll never know like what he was thinking in that moment because he has not reached out to me about it. A bunch of players have asked me if he's reached out, if he's apologized. Nothing. I haven't heard from him since this game. Then they prompt us. They're like, okay, ask him why he wants to win. He explains why he wants to win. It basically his reasoning on the show is the reasoning he gave me. again, he spends so much time explaining this, and I'm listening, and I'm being a present person in this two-person conversation. I'm letting him explain himself. And then when it's my turn to share why I'm there, he gets so angry. And he gets so angry that I'm like speaking proudly about myself and about my history and about my identity. I've been through so much thus forward in the education system as a deaf individual who had to rely on hearing aids and lip reading for their entire life without like representation and without access. And I start simcomming a little bit, which is it's simultaneous like communication. You are signing and you're speaking at the same time, and that's natural. Honestly, sometimes I do it just like automatically without even thinking about it. And I noticed that he does not like this. He's like, just doesn't like it. So I stop, but the cameras are in front of us. I'm trying to represent my community, like, period. So I start signing, and then I stop, and then I'm like trying to like still like talk about why I'm there, but he is interrupting me. He is not letting me speak. He is speaking over me. He is literally physically towering down on top of me because I am freaking 5 foot and he is not. He is a grown ass man. And, in that moment, physically, I did feel like I was in the room with all of the oppression that I had thus experienced thus far in my life. And I thought, when he's saying, "Oh, I have hearing aids too," I'm thinking, cool, let's have a conversation about our experiences. You have an experience as a late deafened individual. That is completely normal and natural. 25% of hearing people, will get hearing aids later on in life, like when you're 60 and up. It's just natural. And I have different experience. I was born deaf and grew up deaf, and didn't see representation like me on the screen. And I want to do that. I want to be here for younger me. But he did not like me saying that for some reason. It was the most bizarre thing. And I had to take a step back and think, okay, is he really pissed off that I'm like proud of myself? Or is he trying to just get in my head no matter what way he can? So that way I am shook up and that way I perform badly. Because some of the things that he was saying, this is a trick, you are trying to fool me, something like that, like you're playing the sympathy card. It's so confusing. It's like, what do you mean? We're about to play a game of skill. How is this a trick? How is me talking about my life experience and why I want to be here and win this game a trick? It is, the energy in the room was bad. Like, the cameramen, the showrunners, the guards, like, we were all just kind of jarred from what was happening. And I tell him, I'm like, am I gonna argue with this man? No, definitely not. I don't feel like this man wants to see my point of view. I don't think it's about me. I think he just wants to win. And maybe the game is getting to him. Maybe he hasn't had enough to eat, had enough to sleep. Maybe he's losing his marbles, So I just kind of take a step back and let him bury himself in what he's saying, because he said a lot of things that weren't shown that were absolutely ridiculous. I have never seen a more like prominent example of the audacity of a white man, like, ever in my life. It was crazy. And that's my experience. But they interrupt us because it gets to a point where like we are arguing with each other, and they separate us, and they give me the option: do you want to play marbles now, or do you want to wait about an hour and play later?
An hour?
Yeah, because
Wow.
because everything, I'm telling you, the energy in there was wild. I think a lot of us were shocked about what just happened. And I was shook up, if I'm being completely honest. I was really shook up. And one of the showrunners gave me a hug. I was like hugging myself out of his line of view, because I was like, I'm not about to like show my emotions in front of this person that attacked me and my character. And I was like hugging myself, and the showrunner came up to me and hugged me, and she was like, "You did so good. You should be incredibly proud of yourself for how you handled yourself." And I needed that in that moment, because that was the toughest thing that I had to experience in the game thus far.
Yeah, that's wild. I mean, I was getting a little goosebumps hearing you say some of these things and whatnot because it's just like jarring. I mean, you would think in this day and age of 2023, going on 2024, that people are cognizant of, how they're coming off and what they're saying per se, especially as an adult. Now, I get sometimes the older generation, like baby boom, well, even older than baby boomers, they can sometimes be a little detached and not really understand the common social cues in today's society that need to be. And I don't want to give, I'm not giving them an excuse per se, but I've seen it before, and I'm not shocked when I experience something like that coming from an older generation. But even then, like they're not dumb, and to that point, like completely so far gone from reality and society to where, oh, I didn't realize I was doing. Nah, you know what you're doing, so don't try it. But they think we're all dumb. Like us young people are kind of like dumb, and we don't know anything still. Which, I don't care if I'm talking to a high schooler. I'm still gonna treat them with respect, and act like they got some common sense, and not talk down to them, not belittle them, not make myself seem like I'm better because maybe I'm taller or I've had more life experience. That means nothing. You can get advice from a 5-year-old. So he
Yeah,
just had one of those mindsets of that, oh, I know all this. This girl doesn't know anything type thing.
yeah, it was really jarring, and it was, above all, it was disappointing for me. I walked away from that just like utterly disappointed, and I'm the type of person that will put myself in someone else's shoes. And I remember thinking, like, his family is going to see that. Like, how are they going to think of him? I don't, my sister would be like, why were you even thinking about him? But, like, that's just how I am. Like, I'm just trying to put myself in his shoes and see if, like, I would do that in his position. But my mom is the same age as him. She is also late death. She wears hearing aids too. And I was trying to, like, see if she would do that. And absolutely not. She wouldn't do that. It's not, it was him, and his type of character.
Yeah, a mess. Yeah, that's trash, and I'm sorry you had to put up with that nonsense of this individual.
Thank you.
We gonna cancel him, y'all. I'm starting a petition, cancel him and his clothing store. We
I
ain't
am
gonna
not involved in any type of way.
Look, I'm just sending the message out there, y'all. I ain't gonna put it out there, but you could do the rest, internet. If you want to do the rest, you know what to do.
Oh, damn.
I
What a
said that though.
game. What a
But yeah,
game.
so you guys started your game and whatnot. So why don't you tell me how the actual game when you get started progresses?
Sure. At this point, I am so done. I'm like, let's play the damn game and see who wins this, because let's just see, and he is frantic. He is all over the place. He is rushed. He is like running to set up the marbles, and he's like shooting with the quickness. And I'm just like, and then I'm like, I start shooting underhand, and that's not working. And I start shooting overhand, and I get one in. I'm the first one to get one in, and I'm like, oh, this is a lot like beer pong. Like, I can do this, And he's not getting it. He's missing every single time, and I am too. But I've got one in, so I know I'm good. And then he finally gets one in, and he's like, I miss it. Like, I'm not really paying attention. And he's like, it's in. And I'm like, what? And he's like, in? And I'm like, yeah, okay, it's in. And then my next marble, like, it just immediately sinks in, and it cancels out his marble. And we just keep playing like that. I'm trying to run down the clock and be as slow as possible shooting my marbles because I'm ahead. And then it gets to the last shot. It's him who gets the last shot. He misses. It goes into the sand, and he's like looking for the marble, even though the timer's out. Like, you lost. It's time to get up and, end this game. Finally, thank God. I was so ready to be done with that game and to move on. And I was so relieved that I would be going back to the dorm and not this person, because I feel like thus far I hadn't met a person like this in the game, and I had a feeling that maybe it would start to happen as we got closer to the money, but I haven't really heard of a situation like this in the game other than this one. So,
Yeah.
above all, I win. I feel relieved, and I put my marbles in that guard's hand and I walk off and, wish you well, man. Good game. Bye. I hope to never see you again.
Yeah, good game. Hope to see you never. Peace and blessings. And we
Yes.
got you. And I thought, it was boss how they showed you, hand the guards out. You just walked off like, and he's there just in distraught, like
Oh,
Logan Pace
oh,
style.
he was so mad, DeAndre. He was so mad to have won that. I mean, to have lost that game. And I was so, yeah, I was like, yep, thank you, universe. You're watching my back.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we get up out of there, find out of the treacherous marbles arena of chaos and conflict, and we soon get back into the dorm. And soon we get told by the person upstairs that yes, we need to elect a leader, and almost everyone, seems fine with TJ being the leader and whatnot. But before this happens, well, the editing is a little weird. Before or after this, your girls get together and whatnot and kind of get a commonality bond. Like we may need to look out for each other.
Yeah.
That happens before or after TJ becomes captain.
Before.
Before. Okay. The editing shows it like kind of after, I think, it is wonky, but you do it
It's
before and
kind of
whatnot.
half and half. I think
Yeah.
me and Amanda Marina had like a quick little chat. It was like Marina was like, take a look around. There is 9 women and there is 21 guys and Phil, in this dorm room. Like, we need to start looking out for each other. Otherwise, we're not going to see any women in the final. And that was kind of like, whoa, yeah, you're right. Like, our numbers are dwindling. And then I think after TJ, we elect TJ to be the leader. We have another conversation with all the women, and I'm down. I'm like, hell yeah. If you know my brand, my art brand, it's kind of like that. Like, I make art about representation and female representation and queer representation, and especially deaf and hard of hearing representation. Like, we don't have enough of that in the art world, in the media, in the literature world. Like, I'm just about making creative things like that, and so I'm down with the girls. But at the same time, Phil, that's my man in here. Like, we are depending on each other heavily. Like, this guy is family. Especially after Marbles, I'm looking around, I'm so distrustful of everyone. I'm like, when it comes down to it, who are you going to turn into when it comes down to a game? Like, are you going to turn into someone I don't know? So the only person I was sure that wouldn't do that again to me was Phil. So in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, Girls Alliance, cool, but also Phil's my number one.
So you definitely, yeah, that makes sense. He's been there since day one essentially, and you have this girls' alliance in your back pocket. But ultimately, regardless, you're telling these ladies like, "I got you" and whatnot. But at the end of the day, I gotta stick with my peoples, and I 100% agree with that. You gotta stick with your peoples, boy, girl, non-binary, whatever you are, frog, dog, cat. I gotta stick with you. And so totally get that. So TJ is safe. Of course, they find out, and it's a safety chain that we're doing here. 20 people is picked, and 11 people go home. So TJ starts. He picks Mai. Mai's this girl's alliance. She picks Chad. Are you surprised by this?
No,
Okay.
no.
Surprised to most,
Mine was down for the Girls Alliance, but like me, she had also built connections with people that weren't in the Girls Alliance. So I really wasn't surprised when she picked Chad or Chaz.
Chad.
Chad. I wasn't surprised when she picked Chad because they were like noticeably close. They spent a lot of time together. They had many conversations together. So I wasn't surprised a little bit, but I was a little bit disappointed.
Okay, well, yeah, mixed feelings, but you had the conversation. But yeah, you get it. At the end of the day, you got it, and like, okay, whatever it is, what it is. Chad then picks, Chad then picks Mikey, And then Mikey picks Marina. And so then Marina says, okay, we're going to get the ball rolling right here in her little miv. And then
Marina's a real one.
yeah, she was on the podcast. Shout out Marina, man.
I
Check hers
love
out.
her. Yeah.
So then she picks B, and then B picks Amanda. Then Amanda gives her little speech out and says, look, all the ladies need to stick together moving forward. So what are you thinking when you hear this?
It's so funny because I didn't hear her speech at all. I didn't hear it at all. And because we are tired, we're hungry, and if you rely on hearing aids to communicate, then you've got to be at your best to be listening and hearing and like actively listening. And I was not at my best. So I was like, okay, Amanda's talking. And I wasn't in the front either because I knew that if you were in the front in any type of game, you were in the line of the firing squad. So I was kind of like in the second row. Amanda gets picked, and before she gets picked, she's making eyes at me. She's like looking at me and nodding her head, and I'm like, I don't know what you're trying to say. Like, are you trying to say that I'm good? Or are you trying to say that, like, I don't know, that like she's trying to reiterate our conversation, I think. She gets picked, she goes up there, she says her speech. I have no idea what she's saying. I'm leaning over, I'm squinting, I'm trying to read her lips. I'm like, I just need to catch the last part of it. And she says, I pick player 393. I read her lips, I see her say that, and I'm like, oh my God, it's me. And then I'm like, is it me? And I look around and everyone's looking at me. So I know it's me. So I go up there. And I can only assume that she had said something about the Girls Alliance, about representation, etc. I wasn't sure that she had said that, but I just assumed that it was. So I walk up to her and I immediately when I get picked, I'm like, who am I gonna pick? I have to pick Phil. Like, I have to. That is, if I don't pick him, it really is betrayal, And also, this Girls Alliance is so complex because Phil is gender fluid. So he wasn't in the Girls Alliance, and who knows if he'd be in a men's alliance if it came to that. But honestly, he wasn't, because if we look back at Tug of War, the men were doing that. They were gathering each other. They were gathering their brute force and their strength. And they were not including Phil. They were not including any women. So it happened like that. I go up, I pick Phil, and I feel like Amanda's maybe disappointed a little bit, but I had to do what I had to do. And I tell Phil, please pick a woman. Please pick a woman. Do not make me look stupid. Do not make me look like...
So no, go ahead.
No, I feel bad for putting Phil in that position, but it was the only thing I could think to do then.
Yeah, so, well, there is a little controversy with some of the eliminated men. You probably have heard it. So, they said before you guys started, you can't talk. You can't influence anyone else's decision. But you do get a little word in real quick to this. And then, there's a like, hush, 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 quiet, blah, blah, blah. They, start going crazy. And then, are you worried at this point? Like, are you like,
Honestly, no. Like, I didn't know that was a thing until I watched your interview with Phil. Like, I had no idea they had told us that we couldn't talk to each other. And I wasn't scared that I talked to Phil or Amanda. Like, I was just playing the game that they had laid out for us. And maybe I missed that part, but I wasn't aware that the men were angry that I had talked to Phil and Amanda. Like, I was just there, trying to make the best of a really tough situation.
Yeah, no, I spoke to a few of them and they were upset. They're like, that's against the rules. You need to eliminate her. And they didn't explain this in the show either. So the casual viewer would be like, what are you talking about? But yes, they said, because there was a lot of rules they didn't explain that was on the show. But we ain't gonna get into all that. But yes, that was, yeah, exactly. So that's what happens. And, Phil, ultimately, to clear everything up, Phil ultimately said, regardless of what you said, he was gonna pick a woman regardless. So ultimately, if you told him this, it ultimately, in his head didn't matter because he knew what was going on, and he had to give you the favor back of what you gave to him. And so that ends that saga. Everyone else ultimately picked, and we move on to the final 20. How does it feel to be in top 20?
Oh, it feels so good. It feels like I've been in this freaking dorm for like 2 months. Like I'm tired and I'm just like burnt out from this marble situation. Like I feel like this game is weird, and it's unjust in so many ways, and you just kind of have to keep going. You got to keep going, and you got to keep your mind right however you can do that. And I'm feeling grateful. I'm like, top 20, hell yeah. I made top 20 out of 456 people. Hell yeah. Like it was just a dream come true to be there, and then an even more dream come true to be part of the top 20. And we were looking around at the top 20 lineup, and we were like, hell yeah. It was tough. We did the best that we can do, but this is pretty good.
Yeah. No, shout out to you, man. You definitely did that. And, huge props, because it's not an easy journey at all, especially someone who is deaf. You got to overcome extra things as well. So huge props, give you flowers, all that and whatnot. But soon you about to get another little special surprise. And we walk into the white room, and we have this black curtain. And underneath this black curtain, we see the teddy bears, the beautiful teddy bears. And so, yes, they explain you get a teddy bear, and then you give it to someone else, whichever number it is. And so some people get their snuff and numbers and whatnot. Now it's your turn. And you get up there, and you get number 1. So when you get number 1 and you looking around, what you thinking?
I get number 1, and my first thought is TJ. Like, who is the number 1? Who is the number 1 in this game? That's TJ. TJ has branded himself as a leader in this game because that's who he is as a person. He's a leader on the outside world. And throughout this game, I'm trying to trust my first instinct. It's really hard. It's really hard to, like, your brain wants to think more and more and more, and then you just get overwhelmed. So TJ is my first thought, and I stick with it. Not even thinking about the repercussions that I'm going to get, not thinking about how the world is viewing me. And I give it to TJ thinking that I'm a complete and total, for it. But as I'm doing it, and I'm playing this game with honesty, like the whole way through. People want to call me shady. They want to call me a snake. They want to call me fake deaf. They want to call me all these things. But truly, I was playing an honest game. Everything I said, I meant. And in that moment, I truly felt like TJ was the only person who was going to take this number with grace. So someone who wouldn't hold it against me, and someone who would understand. And he did completely. And as I'm doing it, almost every single person in the lineup is like, yep, because they would have done the same thing. Like, I'm talking to these people after this whole thing is done, and they're like, yeah, I would have done the same thing. Like, I'm over here thinking, oh my God, I just made like a really big game move. Like, this is like, I don't know how people are going to feel about this afterward. But I find out it wasn't a big game move. It was just like what everyone's first thought was. So that was my first thought, and I did it. And I didn't necessarily think that it was going to be a death sentence. I thought anything could happen in this game. There could be any twist thrown in last minute. Who knows? And then, we kind of came to a conclusion that, like, if we all take a jump, then we all have a 50-50 shot of making it, which is kind of fair. And so just like TJ, I had the 50-50 shot of making it. So, and everything was good after that. Like, me and TJ gave me a high five before he went on the thing. He acted exactly how I thought he was going to act. He was front and center. He was like, humility and gratitude. He was like, let's do this, guys. He was hyping us up. Like, I felt like he was the coach of our basketball team, and I was just like a player. So props to TJ for handling it with grace and for understanding my decision to this day. Like, he is such a respectable and honorable person.
Yep, definitely makes sense. I think everyone, like you said, everyone gave it to him except probably Mai, because if she had a chance to give it to him, high number, since she gave it to her, that's the only person. But yes, you end up getting number 7, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 7. Who gives you 7?
Mikey gives me number 7, and he says, "Lucky number 7. I like this number." And he gives me number 7, and I'm like, oh. Because it's a low number, and also because my history was the number 7 is not a good one. Like, I do not like that number. As a child, I was scared of that number. Like, if I saw that number anyway, I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna die, because of the movie The Ring. Yeah.
Classic. Okay.
So I kind of have a feeling that this is probably where my journey's gonna end anyway. Yeah. When I get that number.
I need number 3, number 6, number 9, number 12. Like one of those numbers that's been the calling card, but you want to do this? All right. So we get into the glassbridge area finally, and this game's about to start. You guys got your game plan. You already know what time it is. TJ jumps, he's out. Chaz jumps, he's out. Trey jumps, he does his little, whatever. And then he ultimately, and then Marina passes him before he does that, and then falls to his demise and doom. And
are we gonna talk about Trey? Are we gonna talk about Trey's jumps?
I just laugh every time I talk about it because it's just funny. But give me your perspective. I ask everyone their perspective on this. Why don't you give me yours?
From my perspective, Trey lost it. Like, mentally, I thought, they come on the intercom and they say, player 393, take your jump. Trey waited for that cue once, and then, his jumps, he just hop. Like, it was quick. He wasn't waiting for no cue. He was turning back, and he said, he was far away from me, but I had a clear view of him, so I read his lips, and he said, if my mom were still here, would she have gotten a higher number? And then he said, do y'all think I deserve this number? And I was like, I'm standing there like, no. But in my head, I'm like, oh, he lost it. The game got to him.
It got to him.
His mind is completely just done. And I get it. The game is
this firsthand already. You've already seen someone lose themselves in the music the moment they want it.
Yeah. I'm like, the game is tough. It got to him. He's ready to go home. That's honestly my point of view.
Oh, that's hilarious. She's like, all right, boy, I've seen this show already. Just go ahead, keep jumping, man.
Exactly. Bury that.
Oh, that is funny. Well, yes, Trey jumps. Eventually, he misses, and he is gone. Then it is Elliot's. No. Yes. No. Elliot. No, he says everyone has a 50 decision. Then it's Ashley's turn. She makes it. Then it is 31. Why do I keep forgetting who is 31? Why does I feel so bad?
31, Siobhan?
No, she's 23.
Oh, right. 31.
Okay, well, sorry, 31. You jumped, you're safe.
Perna?
This is bug.
Perna jumped before
me. Yeah. Perna.
Yeah. So Perna makes a jump. He makes it.
Your turn.
It's my turn. I'm like hopping along this beautiful, menacing set like a video game, and it's time for me to take my jump, and there's a fleeting thought. It comes so fast and it goes just as fast, and it says jump forward, but it went so fast that I barely had time to like think about it, and I'm like, oh my God, what jump am I gonna pick? And so I stick out my hands. I'm like, maybe my hand will itch, and maybe the itching hand, I'll jump that way. But I kind of I don't jump forward like my gut tells me to, and I jump across, and I'm dead.
Yeah, she's gone into the nether region, the shadow realm, and there ain't no Monster Reborn card, sadly. But yeah, you picked the one ahead, and that wasn't the right choice, and sadly, that's where our friend Jackie, aka Player 393's journey ends. So yes, tough way, but you did it on your terms at the end of the day. and you can only live with what you make, and I wouldn't have had it any other way. So you get out of there, and you finally get back home to San Antonio. Finally, how are you feeling?
I am feeling so in the moment being eliminated, I was just grateful for the entire experience, grateful to have made it that far, grateful to have played Glassbridge. That was such a cool set, and I felt awesome to be on there. And I wasn't sad, but when I got home, I was like, there were so many moments of like, damn, if I had only just jumped forward instead of across, or damn, if I had won that $4.56 million, then I could take my family on a vacation. I could pay off our house. I could, buy us a new car. Um, but I didn't win, So that was a hard pill to swallow. But I'm glad I went home then when the money wasn't as close than to have, made it all the way to top two, like my good friend Phil, and to not win. I mean, I can't even imagine. Well, I can because he's told me about it. Like, what a devastating loss,
Yeah, yeah, definitely gonna need a lot of water to swallow that pill. Because it's a big one. But yeah, I mean, I highly commend you getting through everything in the game. You followed your instincts. You overcame a lot, mentally, physically, and emotionally to get that far. And honestly, a lot harder journey for you than many, many, many other people. I mean, it, it's just kind of indescribable about some of the things that you had to go through.
Yeah.
Um, and then also had to deal with when the show aired as well. So definitely huge props to you, huge respect. Always, rooting for you and everything. And definitely I commend the way that you went through the game and took things the way that you ultimately wanted to do at the end of the day. And there's no other way that, I would have had it myself, but definitely huge respect to you for doing all those things gracefully all at once, gracefully.
Thank
Uh,
you. I tried my best. I really I owe it all to my little community in there, my friends that I leaned on. I couldn't have done it without them.
Shout out to the friends.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, thank you, Jackie, for joining the Aftermath podcast. This was great and excellent, and one of my favorite episodes to do. Actually, you got me a little goosebump in the storytelling. I was like, oh snap! I'm gonna have to turn the light off, or turn the light on brighter, so I can, feel myself again.
Oh.
The storytelling and whatnot. So listen to Jackie's little audiobooks if she got some coming out soon, hopefully. But thank you once again for joining, Jackie. Do you have any last words before we get up out of here?
Thank you for having me. Follow me on Instagram, tismejackieg. Follow my business page, Jack and Bet. I make art. I love to be creative. I love to sign songs and just live authentically me. And you should do the same. Love you guys.
Hey, all love and respect, Jackie. Thank you so much for joining. We out of here, y'all. Peace and blessings. And until next time, and have a wonderful rest of your day.